On the 19th of July 2026, Spain became world champions for the second time. Ferran Torres had scored the defining goal, Argentina had finally been broken, and Luis de la Fuente had reached the summit of international football. But this story did not begin at the World Cup. It began 11 years earlier, on exactly the same date, with another Spanish team, another European final, and a coach that most of world football barely noticed. To understand what Spain rebuilt, you first have to understand what they had lost. Between 2008 and 2012, Spain created one of international football's greatest dynasties. European champions, world champions, then European champions again. They did not simply win football matches, they controlled time, space, and possession so completely that success began to feel permanent. Then in 2013, almost unnoticed beneath the senior team, the Spanish Football Federation appointed Luis de la Fuente to work with his under-19s. It looked like a small youth team appointment, but in reality, Spain's next championship cycle had already begun. 1 year later, the old dynasty collapsed. Spain arrived at the 2014 World Cup as champions and departed during the group stage. The football that once made them untouchable suddenly appeared slow, predictable, and burdened by its own history. In 2015, De La Fuente's under-19s travelled to Greece. Among his players were Unai Simon, Rodri, and Mikel Merino, teenagers who would eventually form part of Spain's senior core. Their tournament, it wasn't perfect. Russia beat them 3-1 during the group stage, but Spain adapted, recovered, and met the same opponent again in the final. This time, they won 2-0. De La Fuente had his first trophy, and more importantly, he had begun learning exactly how these players respond to pressure. The journey was not a straight line. Spain's senior side went out in the round of 16 at Euro 2016 and again at the 2018 World Cup. De La Fuente also failed to qualify for 3 consecutive under-19 European championships, but the federation did not discard him. It judged the work, not simply the latest result. In 2018, he won the Mediterranean Games and was promoted to the under-21s. While the senior team searched for its future, De La Fuente was already working with the players who would eventually define it. 4 years after the under-19 title, De La Fuente led Spain into another European final, this time with the under-21s. Fabian Ruiz opened the scoring against Germany, Dani Olmo added the second, Oyarzabal led the attack, Vallejo captained another successful De La Fuente team. Spain were European champions again, and another group of future senior internationals had been educated inside the same system. At the Tokyo Olympics, De La Fuente met many of them again. Oyarzabal equalized against Brazil in the final, but Malcolm scored during extra time and Spain had to accept silver. It was a painful defeat, but it was also another shared experience. Simon, Merino, Zubimendi, Olmo, Cucurella, Oyarzabal, and others were learning how tournament football changes when every mistake carries national consequences. When Spain's 2022 World Cup ended against Morocco, the federation did not begin another revolution. It promoted the man who already understood the system, and many of the players produced by it. De La Fuente was no longer waiting beneath the senior team, he had reached it. 7 months after his appointment, Spain reached the Nations League final against Croatia. The match finished goalless and went to penalties. Unai Simon, the goalkeeper De La Fuente had known since the youth system, saved twice. Carvajal converted the decisive penalty. 11 years after Spain's last senior trophy, the drought was over. This was what trusting a process looked like. Not ignoring failure, not waiting forever, but accumulating knowledge, developing relationships, and promoting people when they were ready. Euro 2024, Spain stopped looking like a team trying to recreate 2010. They retained the technical control and positional intelligence, but added genuine width, pace, and aggression. Lamine Yamal and Nico Williams stretched the pitch. Rodri and Fabian controlled its center. Dani Olmo attacked the spaces that appeared between them. Spain could still dominate possession, but now they could also attack before an opponent had time to recover. They won every match, 7 victories, 15 goals, and a recorded 4th European Championship. When the final against England required a winner, it came from Oyarzabal, the striker who had led De La Fuente's under-21 European champions 5 years earlier. Portugal then defeated Spain on penalties in the 2025 Nations League final, but one loss did not destroy the identity or trigger another reset. Spain absorbed the defeat and they just continued. Spain's World Cup did not begin with a masterpiece. Cabo Verde held them to a goalless draw in their opening match, but there was no panic. Spain defeated Saudi Arabia, Uruguay, Austria, Portugal, Belgium, and France to reach the final. Different opponents created different problems, but Spain continued returning to the same principles: control the center, create width, press collectively, and trust the next action. Against Argentina, the final became tense, physical, and increasingly desperate. Spain continued moving the ball, they continued stretching the defensive block, they continued trusting that patience would eventually create the opening. In the 106th minute, Ferran Torres found it. Spain had conceded only one goal across the entire tournament. De La Fuente had added the World Cup to the Nations League and European Championship. 11 years of shared development had reached its final destination. De La Fuente's achievement also belongs to a wider Spanish coaching culture. From Johan Cruyff's influence in Barcelona, through Guardiola, Emery, Luis Enrique, Arteta, Xabi Alonso, and a generation of coaches working across Europe, Spanish football has exported more than one rigid style. It has exported an education, positional understanding, technical security, collective pressing, and the ability to adapt without abandoning an identity. De La Fuente did not invent that culture. His greatest achievement was connecting every level of it. Spain did not discover its future at the 2026 World Cup. It had been coaching that future for more than a decade. The old dynasty completed the perfect sequence: Euro 2008, World Cup 2010, Euro 2012. This generation has completed the first two stages: Euro 24, World Cup 2026. One challenge remains: Euro 2028.